Hey guys, this is EJ Holland with the Wolverine.com, and today we're going to break down Michigan's 5 underclassmen commits. With National Signing Day over and done with, we're starting to turn the page on the 2023 class, so why not focus in on the underclassmen? But before we start this week's video, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to the Wolverine.com today for just $10 until next football season. That gets you premium inside information on all things recruiting, the team, basketball recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, and so much more. And you get to be part of a vibrant message board community over on the Fort for just $10 until next football season. If you're already a subscriber, you can gift a subscription. The holidays are here, so make sure to gift a subscription to your fellow Michigan fan for just $10 until August of 2023. All right, guys, let's talk about Michigan's 5 underclassmen commits. We have 4 in the 2024 recruiting class and 1 in the 2025 recruiting class. Let's go ahead and go with 2024 first. Let's start off with the highest rated commit, and that is Nashville Ensworth linebacker Mason Curtis, who is ranked as the number 191 overall prospect nationally and the number 20 linebacker in the country. Now, Curtis is a super intriguing prospect. I had a chance to see him live in the fall. And when I say he played everything, I mean, he literally played everything on defense. He played a mic role. He played a traditional outside linebacker spot. He came off the edge. He played safety. He even saw some snaps at corner. At 6'4", 190, he's just an athletic anomaly. I'm really excited to see what he grows into at the next level. I'm not exactly sold that he'll be a pure linebacker. When I asked him, hey, do you have a position of preference on defense? He told me that, what he does right now, which is kind of a Swiss Army knife role. And that's actually what Michigan has talked to him about. I think 6'4", 190, you see that 190 pounds, and that's very light. He has the frame to add a good 30, 35 pounds to that frame. So you could easily see him come off the edge, especially with his length. You could also see him only add maybe about 20, 25 pounds and stick him as a bigger safety, maybe a Makari Page type of role. Can he play linebacker? Yeah, he's physical. He can cover well in space. I think right now he gallops more than he runs well sideline to sideline, but I could definitely see him improving his sideline to sideline speed and flexibility and playing a linebacker spot. But I personally like him as a bigger safety. I just when I see him, I'm like, man, if he puts on, those 25 pounds or so, you could see a Taylor Mays type of player. For those of you that used to play the NCAA football video game and are familiar with the early 2000s, you'll remember USC safety Taylor Mays was one of the most imposing college football players across the country and one of the best video game characters. And I think that Mason Curtis kind of resembles that. He is kind of like a video game character in the sense that you can just put him everywhere and he looks super impressive just from an athletic standpoint. So the game I was at, he had, I think it was 8 tackles, a pass deflection, a forced fumble, and an interception. So that versatility really, really popped out at me, and it pops out on film as well. So I think Michigan has a guy that, hey, let's just, and he's a 2024, so he was a junior when I saw him play this fall. So I think we just kind of have to sit back, see how he develops, see what his frame turns into, if he grows a little bit more or not, or how much weight he can really add at the next level. There's a lot of moving parts with Mason Curtis, but normally I don't love Swiss Army knives like this, but with Mason Curtis, man, I think his ceiling is so high and he really has that potential to play multiple roles. So I certainly like this take early on. I think you just figure it out later on and see what he becomes, but the potential is there for sure with Curtis. The next highest rated commit on the list is Luke Hamilton, interior offensive lineman out of Avon, Ohio, ranked as the number 215 overall prospect in the country, 6'5", 290 pounds. Nothing flashy about Hamilton's game. Just go turn on the tape, and the dude loves to run block, and he's going to fit in really, really well on Michigan's offensive line. He's a straight interior guy. He'll play either of the guard spots. Like I said, loves to run block, extremely physical. Gets his hands on guys, latches, drives, finishes off blocks, serves up plenty of pancakes. As you watch his huddle clips, he's a guy that might not have the best feet or high-level athleticism, but he has plenty of brute strength. He has a mean streak to his game. He's pretty advanced technically as well, knows how to place his hands. I think he's a guy that again, just kind of fits the culture of Michigan football. He's a grinded out interior offensive lineman. So Hamilton's a great addition for Michigan along the offensive line, coming off back-to-back Joe Moore awards. So Sharon Moore's done a terrific job there. Getting Hamilton on board will only help recruit other offensive linemen to Ann Arbor. And I think now that Sharon Moore has settled in as the offensive line coach, that he's had so much success, I think the sky's the limit for 2024 offensive line recruiting. So I think you'll see other high-end prospects follow Hamilton. So like I said, he's ranked as the number 215 overall prospect nationally on the consensus. He's a 4-star across the board, and that's where I have him graded as well. The next highest rated commit on the list is Hogan Hansen, ranked as the number 280 overall prospect nationally. 4-star tight end out of Bellevue, Washington. Way out in the Pacific Northwest. Great job by Michigan pulling him out of the corner of the map. When you look at Hansen, he's a guy that is kind of like Colston Loveland, and he comes from the same 7-on-7 / training program, FSP. And when I say he's like a Colston Loveland, he's a guy that has a little bit of a skinnier frame, but he can split out wide. He can play inline. He's a physical blocker. So he's kind of a complete tight end. You saw Michigan take 2 flex end types in Deacon Tonielli and Zach Marshall this past cycle. I think Hogan Hansen is a much-needed complete tight end that has a lot of inline experience. And when you go pull up his huddle clips, that's what you see. You see him lining up at inline. You see him, blocking his butt off. He's a guy that really gets physical when run blocking. He puts guys in the dirt. He's very, very willing as a blocker, which you love to see out of the tight end position. As a receiver, he flashes too. He runs really good routes out of the inline spot. He can flex out wide. From talking to a source that works closely with Hansen out in the Pacific Northwest, the offensive scheme doesn't allow him to split out wide very much. They like to keep him as more of an inline tight end at his high school, but source told me that he is one of the best natural pass catchers in the Pacific Northwest and can very much run routes as a split, which Colston Loveland could do really well as well. But yeah, I see a lot of similarities between Hansen and Loveland. I don't think a lot of people have seen Hansen live just because of location. There isn't a big national presence out in the Pacific Northwest, so I think he's a guy that could definitely rise up the rankings. A great land for Michigan, considering how far away he is. He had some other major offers from Pac-12 schools, so a big win for Grant Newsome, who is becoming one of the best recruiters on staff, and obviously a young guy that can connect really well with recruits. Hansen is a 4-star across the board, with the exception of On3, which has him rated as a high 3-star. But again, I think Hansen just needs more eyes on him. His film definitely pops, and I think if you can also land Brady Prescorn, who is the top tight end on the board, top 100 in-state prospect out of Rochester Adams, you have an absolute dynamic duo at the tight end position. Lastly, in the 2024 class is Manuel Beigel, listed as an interior offensive lineman, but played defensive, or actually committed to Michigan as a defensive lineman. So I know that was confusing. Let me rephrase. Beigel committed to Michigan in mid-July after camping in front of Mike Elston. He was taken as a defensive lineman. However, he played almost exclusively along the offensive line at the high school level this year. and is rated now as an interior offensive lineman on 3. On 3 is the only service that has graded him so far, and he is ranked as a high 3-star prospect as an interior offensive lineman. Now, Beigel is just an intriguing prospect. Regardless of where he's listed at positionally, he can play offensive line for sure. But again, I think right now the preference for Michigan is to have him as a defensive lineman, to have him as more of a 3-tech. He's 6'5", 285 pounds. He's still really, really raw on either side of the ball, to be completely honest. He's only been playing football for a few years. He moved over to Connecticut, where he plays at one of the best boarding schools in the Northeast at Choate Rosemary Hall, which is where Michigan offensive lineman Tristan Bounds played as well. But he came over from Germany, so he's an international prospect. He's part of PPI Recruit, which is ran by Brandon Collier, same guy that served as the trainer and mentor for Emerick Kumba, who signed with Michigan this cycle in the 2023 recruiting class. With Collier and Elston have a great relationship. Beigel, like I said earlier, camped in front of Elston in the summer, earned an offer. I had a chance to go out to the Northeast and saw Beigel live in game action. He's definitely a big, strong kid. You can see the athleticism, the feet. He has a soccer background, grew up playing soccer in Germany, which is a great country for soccer. So you can definitely see it with his movement and his athleticism, but just a big ball of clay right now. Doesn't really know how to use his power to his advantage or the athleticism to his advantage either. He's super raw technically, but I'm excited to see how Beigel progresses at Choate Rosemary Hall. Like I said, it's one of the top prep schools in the Northeast. He's going to get really good coaching there. He's going to continue to train with Brandon Collier when he goes back home to Europe. So I think you'll see a rapid progression from Beigel, and I'm excited to see what he looks like this time next year. But a really intriguing international land, second cycle in a row with an international prospect for the Wolverines. And lastly, let's wrap up with Michigan's lone commit in the 2025 recruiting class. The Wolverines got off to a hot start in 2025, landing top 100 cornerback Chris Ewald out of Chaminade Madonna Prep in South Florida. Miami was considered the favorite there, and Michigan came away with a recruiting win. But that's not a huge surprise in the sense that Ewald visited Michigan on, I believe, 3 different occasions, including this fall. He established a really great early relationship with Michigan co-defensive coordinator Steve Klinkscale, who has been recruiting the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area really, really hard over the last calendar year. That hard work paid off with the commitment of Ewald. 6 foot, 160 pounds, just really attacking mentality style at the corner position. Great natural instincts, has good length, decent height, can add some weight to his frame, but he's still a 25. He is ranked as the number 5 cornerback and the number 30 overall prospect nationally, so right in 5-star territory. I mean, what a whale of a land early on. I think the next step is just keeping Ewald committed for a couple of years, right? He's going to have a ton of suitors. He's going to have a ton of NIL offers from other big-time college programs. Can Michigan keep him? We'll see. But for now, it is quite the land for Steve Klinkscale. These are the types of recruits that Michigan needs to be pulling in to continue to be the national title contender. So Ewald, very, very talented in the 2025 class and could jumpstart the momentum for that cycle. All right, guys, for everything Michigan recruiting, subscribe to thewolverine.com, like this video, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We have new videos dropping every week, so get an alert every time one pops up. Thanks as always. And again, subscribe to thewolverine.com, just $10 until next football season.